When you think about horror movies, what comes to mind? Maybe jump scares, serial killers, or nightmares. But one thing all these ideas have in common is they were at one point or another made into a movie by Blumhouse Productions. Founded in 2000 by Jason Blum, Blumhouse Productions is a production company that specializes in horror. They've created unforgettable originals such as Paranormal Activity, Get Out, and The Purge, but have also breathed new life into classics such as Halloween. Blumhouse is also known for producing films on a small budget, giving directors all the creative freedom they need to create their own authorship over their films, and gives their movies a wide release. Blumhouse has created over 150 movies and television series since its beginning, all tied to the horror genre with hints of drama strewn throughout. Now, I want to take a quick detour to talk about paratext and what it means. Simplified, paratext is the theory of attempting to control a viewer's entrance to a text either before, during, or after consuming. In the case of Blumhouse, that would be the movies themselves. Paratext forms the threshold between the inside and the outside of the text. Jonathan Gray speaks about the theory of paratext in From Spoilers to Spin-Offs, explaining that whether consciously or not, before reading a book or watching a movie, you have already consumed many of its paratexts. This can take form as a movie trailer, an ad on a website, or a highway billboard. A friend telling you they just saw a great movie and you have to see it. All of these things form your opinion on the text before you experience it. Paratext tells you what to expect and sets your expectations for what it is you're about to consume. A good example of this in the film world would be movie reviews. Ouija, produced by Blumhouse Films, directed by Styles White, was promoted as a horror thriller that promised scares and a new take on the Ouija board game that we've all heard stories about. The trailer looked promising and the plot looked intriguing. It was set up to be a successful film. Once in theaters and in critics' hands, however, the buzz died down and the film was considered a flop. With a 6% Rotten Tomatoes score, 1.8 on Letterboxd, and 4.5 on IMDb, it promised nothing more than to act as time filler. Now, if you were looking to go to the movies on October of 2014, one would assume you'd look around on the internet and talk to some friends to decide what's worth spending your money on. In the case of Ouija, with all the negative reviews and disappointment surrounding this film, it's likely you wouldn't take the risk. With options such as Above, So Below, The Pyramid, and Creep, you're more likely to go see one of those since the reviews promised a good time and scares fulfilled. However, as Jonathan Gray explains, text comes alive in the interaction between those letters or images and the reader. In other terms, the way one movie can feel exhilarating and fulfilling to some and a waste of time for others. The TV series Euphoria is a great example of this. Some find it to be an over-exaggerated, romanticized version of drugs and teenage life, while others see it as an exploration of teenage trauma and shared experiences. The way you'll receive this show is based on your life experiences and how you can connect to the text. The paratext surrounding this show is what frames it in your mind. Text makes sense because of our past textual experiences, literacy, and knowledge. The paratext can act as a guide for interpretation as well. Looking at the Blumhouse logo and production intro, it frames the text you're about to consume, letting you know that you're watching a horror movie before the film even begins. The mise-en-scène of this intro all encompasses horror. From the lighting to shaky camera movement and the objects on screen, it gives a feel of unease. Let's talk about Blumhouse and Jordan Peele. Get Out was Jordan Peele's first horror film. Although known previously for being an actor, writer, and producer, he was mainly known for his comedic roles such as Key and Peele. Get Out would be a far step from such previous works, and Blumhouse let Peele take the leads on his first horror. This movie was well received and won an Oscar for Best Original Screenplay, as well as being nominated in 2 other categories. I want to talk about the paratext surrounding Peele's second horror film, Us. Because Get Out was so well received and had plenty of positive reviews shining a light on Peele's ability to create a truly horrifying and meaningful film, Us was set up from the beginning to succeed. Jordan Peele films are stacked with a cast of amazing Black actors and actresses and important plots that dissect society, all wrapped up in a beautifully horrific way, and Us is no different. Without going too far into it, Us is about a family returning to a beach home where the mother grew up. The mother's previous traumas begin to creep in, and she begins to feel uneasy about where they are. And then, out of the blue, a mirrored image of her family shows up and chaos ensues. The metaphor behind this film is in the idea of misplaced fear, especially in America. When asked about it, Peele explained, "This movie is about this country. We're in a time where we fear the other, whether it's the mysterious invader that we think is going to come and kill us and take our jobs, or the faction we don't live near who voted a different way than us. We're all about pointing the finger, and I wanted to suggest that maybe the monster we really need to look at has our face. Maybe the evil is us. So the paratext that surrounds this film is reality. Watching the film, you begin to piece together the understanding of what the main characters are feeling and can begin to connect perhaps your experiences to that of this family. Paratext doesn't always have to be before, it can always be within and after. The paratext in this example is used to amplify and clarify the text's meaning. To wrap up this already long explanation of paratext and how it surrounds Blumhouse in some of their films, I wanted to tie all of it together. The paratext that surrounds Blumhouse Productions is mimicked within their films, and the paratext surrounding their films is mimicked within Blumhouse. All over, the paratext speaks volumes. The films they create and the footing they hold themselves on is one of a legacy of horror. From reboots of classics to original new stories, Blumhouse has an expectation to push the envelope of meaningful horror created by the paratext surrounding them. Jason Blum said, "You can't control what people take from what they see, and movies first and foremost need to be entertaining, at least for the movies we make. The minute you start making movies that are just lessons, no one sees them anymore." The understanding that Blumhouse films hold double meaning is an important paratext surrounding their production company, in my opinion. It's easy to shut your brain off and turn on a scary movie to pass the time, but if you've seen any Blumhouse horror, you know that within the film is the lessons that are being told in a magnitude of different ways. This is the amalgamation of the paratext that you've consumed from previous bodies of work, reading reviews or interviews with Jason Blum himself, and simply experiencing the paratext as it is in front of you. A film is no longer reducible to the actual experience of seeing it. As this paratextuality not only precedes the act of watching, but feeds into, conditions, and becomes part of the act.